Breaking free from a narcissist is not merely leaving a relationship, it is a surgery of the soul. You're not just parting ways with a person, but with a version of yourself, the version that once believed love could save everything, that if you loved deeply enough, sincerely enough, you could reach the hidden goodness within them. They once stood at the center of your universe, making you believe your light only had value when it was reflected upon them. Yet behind the charm, the passion, and the sweet promises lies a cold truth. They never loved you, they only loved the feeling of power that came from making you love them. At first you believed it was destiny. They appeared like a miracle, as if the universe had finally heard your silent prayers. They looked at you in a way that made you feel seen, understood, chosen. They listened as if every breath you took was music. They said the words you had longed to hear, touched the wounds you thought no one could ever reach. You thought you had met your soulmate, but in truth, you had only met a mirror polished to perfection. And when that mirror began to crack, the illusion shattered. The once gentle eyes turned cold. The sweet words became daggers. The care that once felt tender became a tool of control. You found yourself asking in despair, "What did I do wrong? How could someone who said they loved me become the very one who drained me dry?" The answer is simple. You did nothing wrong. You only loved someone who does not know how to love. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Detaching from a narcissist is precisely that journey, the journey of bringing the unconscious into the light. You begin to see the invisible strings that kept you trapped in a maze of guilt, pity, and false hope. You realize that love cannot save anyone when it's built on imbalance, and compassion must never become the chain that binds you to someone who is draining your soul. This is not an act of hatred, it is a ritual of freedom. When you dare to withdraw your energy from their shadow, you reclaim sovereignty over your soul. And that marks the beginning of a new life, one where you no longer love to prove your worth, but because you have already found it. In this video, we will dive deep into that journey, the path of freeing yourself from emotional bondage to a narcissist, a process of awareness, courage, and soul sovereignty. Because only when you are strong enough to step out of their vortex will you finally begin to live as your true self. 1. Stop seeking their validation. Stop seeking their validation. That is the first true step toward freedom. As long as you still hold on to a secret hope that one day they will regret, realize you were the one who truly loved them, or finally understand the pain they caused, you are keeping yourself trapped inside the invisible cage they built. A narcissist is incapable of remorse because they are incapable of taking responsibility. They do not see you as a person with emotions. They see you as a mirror reflecting their worth. When the mirror shines, they adore their reflection. When the mirror cracks, they turn away without hesitation. You may beg, cry, rage, explain, or try to prove your worth, but it's like pouring water onto a desert. You're hoping a dried soul will water you with something they do not possess. When hurt, the human heart naturally craves understanding. You just want them to see the pain in your eyes, to say, "I'm sorry," or simply to admit they were wrong. But that moment will never come. To a narcissist, admitting fault means surrendering power, and they will never allow that. Instead, they will twist the story and make you the problem. They will convince you that you're too sensitive, too demanding, too hard to love. Gradually, you begin to doubt yourself, believing that if you were quieter, easier, more forgiving, they might change. But that is an illusion. The truth is, you cannot awaken someone who pretends to be asleep, nor can you melt a heart that has chosen to freeze. The more you seek validation from them, the further you drift from yourself. Every time you try to explain, you give them another opportunity to manipulate. Every time you react with anger, tears, or justification, you feed them the fuel they crave, your emotions. They don't need your love, they need your energy. They need to see you hurt because your pain gives them power. So the only way to win is not to play. Stop. Withdraw your energy from the game they created. Do not argue, do not prove, do not hope they'll understand. They are not seeking truth, they are seeking drama. They provoke to make you react, because in that moment of chaos, they feel alive again. Do the opposite. Be so calm that they can no longer read you. When they throw venom, stay silent. When they manipulate with tears, stand still. When they bring up old memories to soften you, remember how you once believed and how much it cost you. If you must interact for children, work, or unavoidable reasons, become emotionally invisible. Lock every door that leads to your inner world. Do not let them sense your pain or see your reactions. Respond briefly, clearly, coldly. No emotions, no debates, no challenges. When they provoke you, look at them as if you're watching a stranger perform an old play. Do not join the scene. Do not react. Just observe. At first, this may feel unnatural, as if you're wearing a mask. But you are not pretending you're protecting. Every time you stay calm, you reclaim a piece of power they once stole. Every time you do not react, you confuse them because they can no longer control you. They will try every tactic, attack, threat, pity to pull you back into their chessboard. But when you stop playing, the game collapses. And one day you will realize something profound. The recognition you once sought from them was the very recognition you needed to learn to give yourself. You don't need them to validate your worth because your worth never depended on them. When you stop seeking others to confirm your existence, you begin to truly see yourself. Your calmness is not weakness, it is proof of inner strength. No one can destabilize you with a few words anymore. No one can manipulate your emotions through silence. When you master your reactions, you rise beyond their reach. You no longer need them to change, to apologize, or to acknowledge anything. Because your victory does not come from making them understand, it comes from you understanding. You do not need anyone's validation to feel complete. And the moment you grasp that truth, you are no longer their victim. You become free. 2. Cut all contact. Cutting contact with them is not just walking away, it is a ritual of soul rebirth. In the narcissist's game, there is no real victory except awakening and withdrawal. They may have possessed your time, emotions, and trust, but only if you remain in their maze do you truly lose. The winner is not the one who is loved last, but the one who first realizes this was never love, it was spiritual captivity disguised as affection. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Going no contact with a narcissist is exactly that, bringing darkness into awareness. It means facing the unconscious part of you that wanted to stay, that still believed you could heal someone through love. But you cannot heal someone who enjoys their wound, for they do not seek healing, they seek control. When you leave, you are not just leaving a person. You are escaping a matrix of manipulation where emotions were distorted, reality inverted, and your sense of self slowly erased. Walking away is not easy, because the narcissist will never let you go peacefully. They will try everything: sweet words, fake tears, threats, or promises of a fresh start. But remember, these are emotional hooks thrown to pull you back, to make you continue supplying their ego with energy. Be decisive. Slam the door shut, no goodbye, no explanations. A narcissist doesn't deserve a final moment, because what they crave is not closure, but your reaction. They feed on your anger, your tears, your emotions. Disappear like the wind, no trace, no reply, no message. Your silence is the loudest declaration. I see you clearly now, and I choose not to participate. Do not seek meaningless conversations. Do not check their social media. Do not fall into the closure trap, because closure will never come. They never opened up, so there is nothing to close. Every final talk is just another chance for them to reassert control. Leave as if they never existed, not because they were insignificant, but because you are returning to yourself what was taken. Beneath the mask of arrogance, a narcissist is an abandoned child, lost inside their own mind. Their deepest fear is not losing you, it's being forgotten. Your departure crushes them not because of love, but because they've lost their mirror, the reflection that sustained their illusion of perfection. You were once the light that illuminated them. When that light withdraws, they fall into the darkness they created. But be cautious that fear can make them dangerous. They might play the victim, claim they've changed, or beg to be understood. Don't believe it. Their remorse doesn't come from the soul, but from panic at losing control. Every promise is a weapon. Every tear, a tactic. Every "I miss you" is a test to see if you're still prey. Stay silent, and stay silent for a long time. Do not explain, defend, or react. They do not understand reason. They understand only emotional reaction. When you stop reacting, they lose their power source. When you stop being their mirror, they must face their own darkness, the one they've always run from. And that is when you truly win. Cutting contact with a narcissist is not merely an act of logic, it is a spiritual rite. Each time you choose silence, you reclaim your energy. Each time you do not respond, you strengthen your boundaries. Each time you choose peace over chaos, you heal another layer of your soul. Do not fear loneliness. It is not emptiness. It is sacred space. It is where you reconnect with your spirit. You'll discover that silence is not a void. It is the foundation of freedom. And when you leave with awareness, you are not just escaping a narcissist, you are transcending a collective shadow, the illusion that control is love. So leave, completely, without looking back, because when you walk out that door, you are not just leaving a person, you are crossing the threshold into spiritual maturity, where love is no longer attachment, but the purest expression of freedom. 3. Courageously face the loneliness after a narcissistic relationship. Leaving a narcissist is not merely ending a relationship, it is a spiritual confrontation. It is a deep silence where you are no longer distracted by their emotional games and are forced to look straight at the wounds within you that were never truly touched. When that emptiness opens, it will hurt. It will hurt a lot. But this pain does not come to punish you, it comes to awaken you. At first, everything with them felt like a beautiful dream. They arrived like a miracle, looking at you in a way that made you believe you were seen, understood, chosen. They touched the deepest corners of you, spoke the words you had longed all your life to hear. You thought the universe had sent you your destined other half. But the truth is, they were only reflecting the image you wanted to believe. You did not love them. You loved the feeling of being seen in their eyes. And when that mirror shattered, you thought you lost a person, but in reality you only lost an illusion. In Jung's language, this is called projection. You entrusted them with the best parts of your soul: kindness, capacity to love, faith, and light. They only had to reflect them back as if those qualities were theirs. When you leave, you don't just hurt because you lost them. You hurt because you are reclaiming what was stolen. And the emptiness you feel is actually the space where your soul is finding its way back to itself. Loneliness after leaving a narcissist is unavoidable. It's like cutting off a substance from an addiction because you were once bonded to the emotional dopamine they manufactured: idealization, promises, sweet moments laced with crisis. When it all vanishes, you feel as if you're falling into a void. You miss the tender words, the happy mornings, the embraces that seemed sincere, but that is euphoric recall, a psychological mechanism that remembers the beautiful and forgets the pain. Like an addict, you miss the high, but forget the cost. Be awake, you do not miss them. You miss the activated feeling they produced: chaos, drama, pain that felt familiar. And that is the unconscious hook Jung called shadow attachment, the bond between the ego and the unhealed darkness. You loved them because your soul was trying to mend itself to its own wound, not because they were worthy of that love. When you are alone, old memories may surge. You might find yourself late at night scrolling through old messages, smiling through tears and whispering, "If only things had been different." Stop. Memory is not truth. It is a film spliced together by longing. Write down the cruel moments, the times they smeared you, made you doubt yourself. Read them when your heart wanders. Your mind will trick you into believing the past was beautiful while your heart once lay in pieces. This loneliness is a trial of the soul, the night sea journey, as Jung called it, a voyage across the unconscious where you must learn to endure emptiness without rushing to fill it. There you will meet your inner child, the one who begged for love, who believed being chosen was required to feel enough. Sit with that child, hold them with your presence. Say, from now on, we choose ourselves. 11. Loneliness does not kill you, denying it does. When you dare to pass through it, you enter the process of individuation, the formation of a true self. You no longer need others to define your worth, because you are beginning to connect with your inner center, the self. Give this time to rebirth. Don't rush into a new relationship. Don't try to plug the gap. Walk alone. Sit quietly with a cup of tea. Write down what you've learned, and let your tears fall like a cleansing ritual. Allow yourself to feel everything. Feelings do not kill you. They free you from your false skins. One day, loneliness will turn into freedom. You will realize peace is not found in having someone beside you, but in no longer needing anyone to feel whole. When you reach that state, you will understand. Loneliness is not an enemy, but a sacred guide leading you back to yourself. That is the moment you no longer seek love to be saved, but to be shared. You no longer love from lack, but from fullness. And then you have not merely left a narcissist, you have ascended a level of the soul, stepped out of the karmic loop of emotional repetition, and become a bearer of the light of awareness. 4. Let go of the urge to change, heal, or save them. Many of us have been swept into the spiral of the narcissistic play without realizing we've become a character in it. We say, they made me this way. But the deeper truth is, we accepted our role in that script, the healer, the understander, the savior, and that is where the hurt begins. I have met countless people, especially those with sensitive, compassionate hearts who were swallowed by relationships with narcissists. At first, they only wanted to love, to believe that love could soften and heal, but gradually they lost themselves. Family, friends, and healthy connections faded like mist. The narcissist became the center of their universe, source of joy, sorrow, purpose, even identity. In that world, they existed only to appease someone perpetually starved for admiration, yet utterly incapable of real love. Empaths often fall into this dangerous trap because their hearts are vast. They see potential in others. They see the wounded child beneath the arrogant mask and believe that if they love enough, they can awaken what's good. But the hard truth few accept is this: a narcissist does not want to be healed. Their illness is not the pain itself, but their identification with it. In Jungian psychology, this is shadow possession, when the darkness engulfs the personality and the person lives entirely through projection, control, and denial. You cannot heal someone who has become their own darkness. You cannot save a soul that does not want salvation. You can only save yourself by reclaiming the energy you gave unconditionally. The truth is, they will not change. They do not see a problem because, in their world, blame always belongs to someone else. When criticized, they become the victim. When hurt, they attack. When you speak of feelings, they deny or mock them. For them, I'm sorry is never remorse. It is merely a strategy to pull you back into the game. Sweet words, tears, promises of I'll change are emotional weapons disguised as sincerity. Do not let your healer's instinct become a trap. Inside every empath is a false savior, an unconscious urge to soothe others' pain in order to feel worthy. That very mechanism makes you easy to capture. You offer light, they convert it into leverage. You offer love, they convert it into dependency. This is a silent psychic contract your soul must break to return to your soul's sovereignty. Do not blame yourself for trying. The desire to heal is an expression of love, but love is not synonymous with staying. Some souls enter our lives to mirror us, to show us the parts of ourselves still unhealed. The narcissist, from a Jungian view, is a fragment of the collective shadow, the face of humanity that has not learned to love. Meeting them invites you to discern between compassion and self-sacrifice, between loving and tolerating harm. Understand this. The pain you endured was not meaningless. It is alchemical fire refining your soul. Each time you release the urge to fix another, you reclaim a piece of your spirit once stolen. Each time you say no, you affirm that love is not suffering, and redemption lies not in changing others, but in seeing yourself more clearly. This is not an easy path. There will be tears, tearing, and sometimes a suffocating emptiness. But it is a sacred emptiness, not of loss, but of liberation. When you stop trying to heal others, you begin to heal yourself. When you stop trying to turn a narcissist into someone capable of love, you open space for real love to enter, love that needs neither control nor proof nor salvation. And then you will understand. You were not sent to change them, but to realize you deserve a love that needs no repair. 5. Do not expect an apology from them. One of the illusions those who loved a narcissist must overcome is the illusion of the apology. You wait not merely to hear, "I'm sorry," but to feel justice for your soul. You want them to see your pain, admit their wrongs, acknowledge that your love deserved honor. The reality, they will never do that. Not because they don't know what they did, but because they cannot admit it. For a narcissist, apologizing means facing their own darkness, and that terrifies them more than death. In Jungian terms, this is shadow confrontation, facing the disowned parts the ego refuses to see. But the narcissist's essence is denial, living in a split from their shadow. They survive by blaming, projecting, and manipulating reality to maintain the illusion of perfection and perpetual innocence. When they hurt you, they don't feel guilt, they feel power. Your pain signals control. And when you wait for an apology, they know you are still attached, still hopeful, still playing the game. To them, your silence is not refusal. It is invitation. Your expectation is not a rightful claim. It is an opening for re-entry. Grasp this deeply. You will never receive a sincere apology from someone incapable of guilt. They may say, "I'm sorry," but it won't be remorse. It will be tactic. Their "I'm sorry" usually comes bundled with a plan to restore control. "I'm sorry, but you're not perfect either. I was wrong, but you made me this way. I regret it, but if you forgive me, everything will be different." That is not apology, it is a delusion cycle wrapped in emotion. If you keep waiting, you will remain suspended between past and hope. Each time you think, "Maybe this time they mean it," you grant them access to your inner world again. And they will enter not to mend, but to take what they always took. Your energy, your trust, your attention. Here is the painful but liberating truth. The remorse that matters is not in their words, but in your actions. When you stop waiting for an apology, you tell the universe, "I do not need anyone else to certify my pain." You become your own witness. You close the story yourself, a story they never intended to end. Give yourself the apology you've been waiting for from them. Look into the mirror and say, "I'm sorry for staying too long, for hoping too much, for losing myself in a mistaken love, but now I forgive me." Forgiveness here is not for them. It is for the part of your soul still bound to that memory. Jung called this the reintegration of the shadow, bringing the light of awareness to the wounded regions and reclaiming the energy once lost. Recognize that you do not need their remorse to heal. Their lack of apology does not mean you are unworthy of love. It only proves they lack the maturity to face truth. And perhaps that in itself is the most subtle justice life can offer. One day they may realize, or they may not. It no longer matters. You have moved beyond the stage of needing others' acknowledgement to define your worth. You do not need their apology to close the past, because peace does not come from another's regret, but from your own acceptance. When you truly understand this, you will see you never needed their apology. What you needed was to return your dignity and sovereignty to yourself. 6. Understand they didn't leave because you weren't enough, they left because of their narcissism. One of the deepest wounds for those who loved a narcissist is the feeling of not being enough. When they leave, you collapse amid the ashes of what was once called love, searching inside yourself for reasons to explain the breakup. Was I not patient enough? Not beautiful enough? Not loving enough? not interesting enough, hundreds of needles turning in your heart. But the harsh truth is this: they did not leave because you lacked anything, but because they cannot remain where real love is required. In the distorted inner world of a narcissist, love is not connection, it's a power game. They come not to love, but to possess, not to grow together, but to be worshipped. When you stop playing the role of the perfect mirror to their idealized image, they begin to retreat. When you set limits, say no, or ask for respect, they feel threatened because it forces them to face the truth that they are neither omnipotent nor perfect, as their illusion claims. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But with a narcissist, they do not want to be transformed. They want others to melt into their world, to dissolve their identity, and become a mirror reflecting their inflated ego. True love requires the exchange between two independent selves. They want a relationship in which they are the center of the universe. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because you were becoming enough. As you matured, grew clearer, and stopped reacting the way they expected, their game lost its grip. They felt bored, not because you changed, but because you were no longer easy to manipulate. Narcissists need emotional reactions to survive. Your calm makes them lose their bearings. When you are silent, they can no longer see their power reflected, so they seek new supply, another mirror that will reflect their fantasy. So if they leave you for someone else, don't torture yourself with, "What do they have that I don't?" The answer is, not more, only new. New means easier to control, not yet familiar with their darkness, not yet setting boundaries, not yet forcing them to see their own shadow. Like an addict chasing a stronger dose, the narcissist constantly switches love interests to avoid facing the fact that they themselves are the source of their emptiness. Here is the truth you must etch into your bones. They didn't leave because you weren't good enough. They left because you began to see them clearly. They cannot love someone who sees through them, because truth threatens the illusion they live off. Your light awareness, sobriety, peace terrifies them. They choose darkness, because only there can they keep believing they are the light. Let them go, not because you lost, but because your soul has graduated from that lesson. Do not compare yourself or seek worth in their validation. A narcissist's validation is a broken mirror. Every time you look in, you only see a distorted version of yourself. Understand that their leaving is the universe freeing you from a psychic prison. When they disappear, you will pass through a hollow pain, but you will realize that emptiness is not loss. It is space for rebirth. As Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Awakening comes with pain, but it is the pain of truth, and only truth heals the soul. One day, far from the storm, you will look back and smile not from longing, but from gratitude. Because it was only when they left that you finally had the chance to meet yourself again. Not the person they wounded, but the one you were born to become. The one who needs no choosing, no proving, no apology, because that self has found worth, peace, and love within their own being. 7. Don't check up on them, let your curiosity die in peace. After leaving a narcissistic relationship, one of the most subtle and dangerous temptations is the urge to keep tabs on them, even knowing it was toxic, that they were unworthy of your love. Part of you still whispers, "What are they doing? Do they miss me? Do they regret it?" You open social media, search photos, watch stories, ask around, read every hint as if an invisible thread still ties you to their world. But pause and ask yourself, how do you feel after every time you do that? Usually worse, more empty, more exhausted. Because you are unconsciously pulling yourself back to the old frequency where their energy still governs your mind. Narcissists live on your emotional reactions. Every time you see their happy posts, their new supply, or veiled captions, you're dragged back into the old game: jealousy, anger, doubt, or hope. And in that moment, you're still feeding them emotional fuel, even without contact and even while believing you've left. In Jung's view, this monitoring behavior is a sign of shadow attachment, a bond between the ego and the unintegrated dark. You think you're observing them, but your soul is clinging to what once hurt you out of fear of facing the inner void. You're not checking them because you still love them, you're checking because you haven't accepted silence. A space with no drama, no spikes, no dopamine. It's the space the narcissist once filled with chaos, and now you're learning to live without it. The truth is, you cannot heal while you're still watching the one who made you bleed. Each glimpse, even a single image, reactivates neural pathways and the addiction hormones of the relationship, painful yet familiar. That keeps you trapped in a loop of nostalgia, hurt, curiosity, torment. Remember, social media is their stage. Narcissists live on image, illusion, and validation. They know you're watching, and they perform for you. Smiles, dinners, positive aphorisms, all staged like a film to provoke you. They want you to believe they're happy, in love, changing, better without you. But behind the mask lies emptiness, fear, and the panic they can't face. And you, each time you look, you blur a wound that's healing. No contact means not only blocking communications, but withdrawing your energy from their reality. Don't view, don't search, don't ask. Don't let your mind burn itself interpreting their moves. Every minute spent reading them is a minute stolen from knowing yourself more deeply. Instead of watching how they're living, ask, how am I living? How far have I healed? Do I feel more at peace now? These are the real questions. Recovery doesn't lie in knowing how they are. It lies in who you are becoming after they're gone. Don't let them keep renting space in your mind. Guard your energy like a temple. Each time the urge surges, remember, curiosity is the last voice of attachment. Let it die in peace. One day, you'll wake up and realize you no longer need to know where they are, who they love, or how they're doing. Not because you hate them, but because you've risen beyond their energetic plane. True freedom doesn't arrive when you block them online. It arrives when, in your heart, they have no place left to stand. 8. Don't rush into a new relationship before you're ready. After leaving a narcissist, the emptiness inside can feel so vast it takes your breath away. Sleepless nights, mornings that start in a void, the sense your soul has lost a limb. In that pain, we tend to seek something or someone to fill the gap. You think a new person will make you forget the old, that new love will dry old tears. But the truth is, if you haven't truly healed, you'll repeat the same cycle and the same pattern, just with a different face. Fresh out of a narcissistic bond, you are like someone who has survived a severe psychic accident. Outwardly, you may smile, work, say you're fine. Inwardly, you are still bleeding. Unhealed wounds always resurface, and if you enter a new relationship too soon, they will reappear in new forms, sometimes even deeper. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Meaning, if you haven't recognized your unconscious wounds, they will keep steering you. You'll think you accidentally chose the wrong person. In reality, the unhealed parts of you, fear of abandonment, need for validation, savior longing, are silently drawing you to people who recreate the old pain. You will meet them again, but in another form. They'll make you feel special, speak familiar lines, awaken the sense of being seen, chosen, loved. But if you are still the old you, the ending will be the same. You'll lose yourself again. That's how unconscious loops work. We attract those who match our wounds, not to be punished, but to be healed. Only when you pause and look within rather than rushing out to replace does the cycle end. After a narcissist, you need a sacred solitude, a time not to forget them, but to resurrect yourself. This is the nigredo of soul alchemy. Jung described the dark phase where the old ego dissolves, where you feel lost, empty, unmoored. Do not fear this phase. In that night, new light is conceived. Use this time to relearn living as an independent being. Learn to eat a meal alone without feeling lonely. Learn to sleep a long night without a good night text. Learn to hear your own heart without fearing silence. This is not isolation, it is freedom. When you begin to feel peace in your aloneness, it means you no longer need love to fill a void. You're ready to receive love as an overflow of inner wholeness. In the quiet, You will realize the person you need to return to is not someone out there, it is yourself. You'll remember forgotten hobbies, deferred dreams, and the soul fragments abandoned while you were busy playing the savior. As you reconnect, your energy shifts, dependency to independence, fear to trust, brokenness to rebirth. Ask yourself, have I truly forgiven myself? What wound in me kept me staying too long? What have I learned about boundaries, about love, about my worth? If your answers are still vague, you are not ready. True love doesn't arrive when you need someone to prove you're lovable. It arrives when you know your worth without any witness. The narcissist taught you a brutal lesson. Love is not always safe. But they also left you a gift, the chance to see yourself more clearly. Use that gift to rebuild your inner foundations. Don't rush to erect a new house on ground that hasn't been cleared. And then, one day, when you are calm enough, when your heart no longer thrums with memory, when you don't think of them each morning, you'll meet someone truly different. Not someone who makes your heart race with drama, but someone who settles your soul in safety. Not someone who makes you doubt your value, but someone who helps you see yourself more clearly. That is real love, not a storm, but a quiet land where you can breathe deeply without fear of losing yourself. Before new love arrives, become the person you were seeking. Nourish yourself with kindness. Learn to say no without guilt. Learn to love without losing your freedom. Do not hurry. Your heart doesn't need a replacement. It needs respect, rest, and listening. When you are truly ready, new love will not arrive as a substitute, but as a natural chapter of your growth, not because you need rescue, but because you have become a light that can love without fearing the loss of self. 9. Don't blame yourself. Forgiving yourself is the beginning of freedom. After leaving a narcissistic relationship, many people carry not only heartbreak, but also the burden of guilt. You ask yourself, why didn't I see it sooner? Why did I let them hurt me? Why didn't I leave at the start? Hidden beneath each question is this: you're blaming yourself for having loved the wrong person. Pause, breathe, and recognize this: you weren't wrong for loving. The mistake was loving someone incapable of returning real love. That isn't your fault. It's a human tragedy we all love, from wounds that haven't yet healed. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." You didn't choose the narcissist with logic. You were pulled in by unconscious energy, where the unloved parts of you recognized something familiar. They touched your deepest wound, fear of abandonment, the hunger to be seen, acknowledged, chosen. They awakened old memories, and in that instant you called it destiny. In truth, it was a lesson disguised as love. You are not foolish, weak, or blind. You were simply living out the nature of a heart that knows how to love, trust, and hope. The narcissist exploited those very virtues to manipulate you. They didn't win you with brute force, but with an illusion of connection, a mirage that made you believe you'd finally found the one who understood you most. So stop punishing yourself for not seeing it earlier. You cannot see clearly from inside the storm. When you love, you don't observe, you give. And when you give from the heart, you cannot look through suspicious eyes. Blindness in love is not stupidity. It is evidence of sincerity. Narcissists make you believe everything is your fault. That is their defense projection. They hurl their shadow onto you, and as an empath, you unconsciously receive it. You come to believe that if only you were better, more loving, more tolerant, they would change. Now you know that was illusion, not love. When you leave, learn to distinguish responsibility from guilt. Responsibility is recognizing what drew you into the spiral, perhaps childhood wounds, not being seen, or a pattern of loving through sacrifice. Guilt is the weight you must lay down. It doesn't heal you, it drags you back into darkness. Tell yourself, I did the best I could. I loved with the full truth of my heart. Whatever the ending, that is still something beautiful. Allow yourself to cry, but do not allow self-destruction. Forgiving yourself isn't forgetting the past. It's looking back with awareness. Self-forgiveness doesn't declare their actions right. It declares that you've learned the lesson and choose peace over pain. In depth therapy, there is integration, bringing past errors into the arms of awareness, accepting them as part of maturation. Each time you face an old memory without judgment, you heal. Each time you retell your story with calm instead of bitterness, you restore order to your soul. You once thought leaving was failure. In truth, leaving is the summit of courage. To leave, you must accept that love cannot save everything. You must surrender the belief, if I try a little harder, they'll change. That is spiritual maturity, a step many never take. See yourself not as a victim, but as a soul pilgrim. You walked the labyrinth of manipulation, gaslighting, and betrayal, and emerged with wider eyes and a deeper heart. You did not lose, you traversed the dark to understand the value of light. Remember, a narcissist didn't choose you because you were weak, but because you were strong. You carry what they lack: a feeling heart, a loving soul, a light they both covet and resent. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because your light forced them to see their shadow, and they couldn't bear that reflection. Hold your head high. You lived truthfully, loved truly, and walked away in truth. You may feel shattered, but through the cracks the new light leaks in. Jung called this individuation becoming yourself after the collapse of illusion. In silence, when you no longer need their apology, their acknowledgement, or your own self-reproach, you'll see everything: the love, the pain, the betrayal was a rite of passage for the soul. It led you from the blind field of the unconscious into the light of awareness. It took your naivety and returned understanding, compassion, and strength. Let yourself be light again. Forgive the one who loved the wrong person, who stayed too long, who trusted the wrong story, because that version of you endured so that today you could be free. Be grateful to them, to yourself in the past, not resentful. When you truly forgive yourself, you don't just end a chapter. You open a new life guided by self-respect, peace, and inner light. 10. Learn to heal the journey back to yourself. Many believe freedom begins the moment the door closes behind a narcissist. In truth, leaving is only the start of healing. The wound they leave isn't on the surface. It lies deep in the architecture of the soul, where every emotional cell still remembers their voice, their gaze, and the fear of stepping beyond their control. Healing is not forgetting. It's looking back with new awareness so you no longer live inside the past. You cannot mend by burying feelings or pretending you're fine. Buried pain doesn't disappear. It waits, returning as anxiety, distrust, shame, or withdrawal from life. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Your task is to face, accept, and embrace the injured parts within you. First, allow yourself to hurt. Don't perform strength. Don't deny feelings. Don't outrun sorrow with work, social media, or rebound romance. Let your heart cry, rage, be soft. Each tear is not failure. It's a cleansing rite, the soul releasing stuck energy. You carried fear, confusion, and helplessness for too long. Now let the waters wash away the mud. Next, learn to observe pain instead of becoming its victim. When memories surface cruel words, cold stares don't drown in them. Watch them as a film about someone you once were. Tell yourself, this is part of my story, not the whole of me. That is mindful detachment, stepping out of the stream without denying it. This is how you reclaim the mind that was once manipulated. Then return to your inner child. This is the part of you that was abandoned, that longed to be loved unconditionally, that endured to keep others pleased. The narcissistic bond reactivated that child. You stayed not from logic, but because that child hoped this time love would arrive. Now you are the adult. Become the parent they needed. Sit down, close your eyes, hand on heart. I am here. I see you. I will not leave you again. That alone begins healing. Do not demand speed. Healing is alchemical. Nigredo dissolution, when everything collapses and beliefs shatter. Albedo purification, when meaning begins to glimmer and the weight lifts. Rubedo rebirth, when you emerge clearer, stronger, whole. No one can fast forward this for you. You must live it breath by breath, tear by tear, night by quiet night. Along the way, rebuild boundaries. One of narcissism's deepest effects is erasing them. You forget what you want and need, where I ends and they begin. Healing means relearning no, protecting your energy, disconnecting from what drains you. As you do, you'll notice something sacred. Those who once trampled your limits fade. Those who honor you appear. Make time for silence. Silence isn't emptiness, it's space for the soul to breathe. Don't fear being alone. In solitude, you'll hear your true voice. Meditate, journal, walk in nature, or simply sit in the morning light. Each present moment breath cuts another thread to the past. Gratitude is part of healing. Not gratitude for the hurt, but for the clarity it delivered. The narcissist became an unintentional, dark teacher, forcing lessons of self-respect, boundaries, and conscious love. When you can regard them without hatred or revenge, you are free. Healing doesn't mean you will never hurt again. It means when pain returns, you won't collapse or lose direction. You'll know how to hold it, understand it, and let it pass. Strength is not numbness. It is feeling everything without being swept away. Healing is not a destination, it is a way of living. Each day, slow down, breathe deeper, love yourself more. See yourself as a garden trampled, yes, but seeds remain. With patience, they sprout. One day you'll look back and realize the breaking was not your ending, but the path to a truer, brighter you. Learn to heal not for anyone else, but because your soul deserves peace. Peace isn't when the past disappears. It's when it no longer defines you. And when you reach that peace, you will know the narcissist was not the last chapter, only the gate returning you to yourself. 11. Set personal boundaries, the art of self-respect and inner freedom. After a narcissistic relationship, one of the most crucial and difficult tasks is relearning how to set personal boundaries. Throughout that time, you were taught that boundaries are selfish, that love means endurance, sacrifice, and understanding them. You were manipulated into believing self-protection is a sin. So you left your soul's doors open for others to enter, trample, and possess until you lost your sense of I. Boundaries are not walls. They define where I end and where another begins. They are a declaration of self-respect, your way of telling the world. This is who I am. This is what I allow. This is what I do not allow. If you are an empath, you know how hard this is. Your instinct is to feel, understand, and open. But openness without discernment leaves you vulnerable to narcissistic people. They don't invade with force. They do it through emotion, pity, sweetness, and a carefully measured fear of loss. Therefore, learning boundaries is a return to soul sovereignty. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." To become who you truly are, you must know which doors to close and which to open. Step 1. Recognize where your boundaries were violated. Before you can set new boundaries, you need to see the ones that were blurred. Ask yourself, how many times did I say yes when my heart said no? How many times did I stay silent when I was hurt because I feared losing someone? How many times did I sacrifice what mattered to me just to be accepted? Each time, you not only hurt yourself, you also taught others that crossing your limits was allowed. Narcissists understand this well. They test you bit by bit, a small remark, a controlling act, an unreasonable demand, and when you don't respond, they know your boundaries have been worn down. Remember, respect doesn't come from kindness. It comes from boundaries. Without boundaries, you have no shape, and without shape, you become a vessel for other people's emotions. Step 2. Learn to say no without feeling guilty. Those who've been emotionally manipulated often fear saying no. You fear being disliked, misunderstood, abandoned. But understand, no is not rejection of others, it is affirmation of yourself. One timely no can save you months, even years of suffering. At first, saying no may make you shaky, strange, guilty. That's a good sign. It means you're breaking an old pattern. Each time you dare to say no, You retrain your nervous system to know that safety comes not from pleasing others, but from being honest with yourself. Boundaries don't need lengthy explanations. They need to be stated clearly and kept consistently. The worthy will respect them. The unworthy will test them, and that is your filter for who stays in your life. Step 3. Practice silence as protection. Sometimes the strongest boundary isn't in words, it's in silence. When you stop reacting, you stop supplying energy. Narcissists cannot tolerate silence because it forces them to face themselves. Your silence is not avoidance, it is energetic sovereignty. You choose not to join an unwinnable battle arguing logic with someone who won't be honest. Silence also brings your energy back home. Each time you choose silence over reactivity, you're saying, I am no longer anyone's emotional fuel. I'm using this energy to nourish my peace. Step 4. Set boundaries on 3 levels: body, emotions, and energy. Physical boundaries. Do not allow anyone to touch you, invade your personal space, or make you feel unsafe. Your body is the temple of your soul. Only those who respect it may enter. Emotional boundaries. Do not let others define your feelings. When they say you're overreacting, you're too sensitive, or I was just joking, pause. Your feelings are real. You have the right to feel them whether or not others validate them. Energetic boundaries. If you feel drained after being around someone, your energy has been breached. Practice energetic separation. Journal your feelings, bathe with salt, meditate, or simply visualize reclaiming your light from them. Step 5. Be consistent. Boundaries mean nothing if you don't keep them. Narcissists are skilled door testers. They'll check whether you're serious. They'll apologize, promise, plead, then hurt you the same way again. Real boundaries are proven by action, not words. If you set a limit but still let them return each time they change, you're signaling that your boundary is theoretical. Remember, love is not letting someone hurt you over and over. Real love begins when you refuse to betray yourself. Step 6. Make boundaries a lifestyle, not a temporary fix. Boundaries aren't just to protect you from narcissists. They're a way of living that sustains your mental health, self-respect, and inner freedom. Apply them everywhere. With family, friends, work, and with yourself. Boundaries are the language of self-love. Every time you say no to what isn't right, you're saying yes to peace, to worth, to your inner truth. A person with strong boundaries isn't cold, they're selectively warm. They love deeply, but don't get swallowed. They give, but don't run dry. They listen, but don't let others pilot their emotions. Step 7. Treat boundaries as a sacred act. In Jungian psychology, boundaries are a fruit of individuation, the journey of separating yourself from others' shadows to become a sovereign individual. When you set boundaries, you tell the universe, I no longer live as a reaction to others. I live as myself. The miracle is that as you stand firm, your relationships change. Unhealthy people drift away. Kindred souls arrive. You'll find you no longer need to prove anything. Your peace itself becomes an energetic fence no one can pierce. Boundary setting isn't a one-off event, it's a lifelong practice. Each day, listen to your body, observe your emotions, and ask, does this make me feel safe, respected, and true to myself? If the answer is no, step back. Boundaries don't just protect you from the bad, they clear a path for the good to come closer. And as you learn to live with clear boundaries, you realize peace doesn't come from avoiding bad people, but from becoming someone who knows how to protect themselves. Boundaries are the door between you and the world. When you learn to open and close that door consciously, you truly enter the kingdom of inner freedom where no one can touch you without your consent. 12. Hold your head high and live a joyful life that is the most beautiful answer. After everything that has happened, the pain, the exhaustion, the endless self-questioning, there is one truth you must carve into your heart. They no longer have the power to define your life. No words, no memories, no wounds can take away your future unless you allow them to. Leaving the narcissist was the first step toward escaping external manipulation. But living happily after you've left that is how you free yourself from the internal one, from the emotional aftershocks they left behind. Hold your head high, not to prove you are stronger than them, but so you can face the light. When you look down, you see only your wounds. When you look up, you see the sky. Life is still vast, still tender, still full of reasons to live, no matter how deeply you were once hurt. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove you're better now. You don't need them to see that you're happy. Because the most exquisite revenge is not making them regret, it's being truly happy, quietly. No boasting, no performing, no pretending. Just living, breathing, smiling a smile that needs no reason. A narcissist will never understand that. They live in the illusion that power lies in making others suffer. But true power lies in the ability to heal and love life again. When you are at peace, everything they tried to control loses meaning. Start small. Clean your room. Change your bed sheets. Light a candle you love. Take a morning walk. Listen to music that doesn't make you cry. Reconnect with old friends. Rewrite the dreams you once postponed for them. Every small act is a brick in rebuilding a new life, a life no longer centered on them, but on you. Learn to feel joy for no reason. Smile not because someone made you smile, but because you're grateful to still be here to live, to love, to begin again. Let your heart open not to invite someone new in, but to let in light and freedom. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And this journey, the one you're on, is that becoming. You've walked through the dark, seen your weaknesses, and now you are integrating them with your light. You are no longer who you were. You are deeper, calmer, wiser. Live a life that feels open, authentic, and meaningful. Stop chasing people who can't love. Stop trying to prove your worth. Stop trading your peace for attention. Instead, do what makes your soul glow. Learn something new, travel, reconnect with nature, or simply sit in silence watching the sunrise, grateful you never gave up. Don't forget you've been through hell, and you're still here. That means nothing can break you now. The wound may remain, but it's a scar, no longer pain, but proof that you lived, loved, believed, and rose again. When you live happily, you don't need to announce your victory. Peace itself becomes your triumph. The narcissist wants you to stay haunted, angry, and obsessed, because as long as you are, they still live inside you. But when you stop mentioning them, stop caring, stop reacting, that's the moment they die in your reality. That death requires no hatred, only silence. Choose life as a sacred act. Love yourself not with words, but with action. Eat well, rest enough, care for your body, read, meditate, write, walk barefoot on the earth. Those small things are sacred rituals of renewal. And if one day sadness returns, smile at it. Say, "I know who you are. I'm not afraid anymore." Because sadness is no longer a sign of weakness. It's the heartbeat of a heart that once loved deeply. One day you will look back and realize walking away, holding your head high, and living well was the most powerful answer to every wound. You need no validation, no winner or loser. Because the greatest victory is reclaiming yourself. Walk forward as someone who knows who they are. No proving, no explaining, no looking back. Your story did not end in their hands, it began in yours. And when the morning light touches your face, when you smile at yourself in the mirror, know this. You didn't just survive, you were reborn, free, whole, and worthy of a radiant life where happiness no longer depends on anyone because it flows endlessly from within you. You may have once believed that healing meant forgetting that happiness would only arrive when the pain was gone. But the truth is, healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about looking at it with awakened eyes. Happiness doesn't come from avoiding pain, but from transforming it into the fuel for growth. You have walked a path few dare, to take a journey from the darkness of manipulation to the light of awareness. You have broken, fallen, doubted yourself, and still you rose. And in that very act of rising, your soul was reborn. The narcissist never changes, but you did. You are no longer the person who waited, who apologized for existing, who sacrificed just to be loved. Now, you are someone who loves yourself unconditionally, who chooses peace over chaos, who understands that silence is a form of power. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." You are not what they did to you, you are who you choose to become after all of it. And today, as you read these words, you've already proven that you have chosen the light. Carry the lesson, not the pain. Let what once broke you become the foundation of your freedom. Love again, but this time with awareness, not to be chosen, but because you have chosen yourself. Do not fear the moments of loneliness. They are not emptiness, but sacred space, the room where light enters. Do not regret loving the wrong person. That love led you to the most divine encounter of all, the meeting with your own soul. And from this moment on, keep walking. No looking back, no proving, no fear. Before you lies a new path, the path of sovereignty, of conscious compassion, of light forged from the very darkness you survived. You no longer need anyone to see you, because you now see yourself. And that is the ultimate freedom. Walk gently, proudly, peacefully, as a soul that has learned the true worth of light after the longest night. Life is still waiting for you, not merely to survive, but to live fully, free, aware, and no longer belonging to anyone, but wholly, beautifully to yourself.